So with that, I would make myself and the consultant team available to answer any questions the council may have.
Thank you, Bill. Well done. And gentlemen, thank you. Walter?
Thank you, ma'am. Several questions, Bill or your consulting team. Is the bus parking fenced?
No.
Is that, you don't have any concern about security?
No, I think we can incorporate cameras and other security, cameras and lighting and other security measures, but I think it would be, aesthetically, it would detract from the facility to introduce fencing around the bus parking area in the parking lot.
Okay. And I think I heard 10 Moscow Valley Transit buses.
There is overall scale. They have 14 vehicles in their fleet right now.
How many do they run in Moscow?
They run 2 on the fixed route and 1 or 2 dial rides at one point in time. Then they typically want a hot standby for either route in case they encounter a mechanical difficulty.
You're up to 5.
So you would have the 2 fixed routes at 4 and probably 2 or 3 dial ride vehicles. So you're in that 7 to 8 range. Now the plan for the 10 capacity was if there was a third route added or we had additional expansion over time, that we would have that ability. And then the individual bays are sized such that they can accommodate a 40-foot vehicle at some point in time. So as we transition both the number of vehicles, number of routes, or the size of vehicles, we'd be able to accommodate those in that location.
Okay. A mention of Moscow Valley Transit or RPT offices. Does this anticipate moving them up from Lewiston?
Yes, it does.
Have they, you got any commitment that they're going to do that?
We have not received formal commitment from the board, but the JR indicates that they are in that stage, and they do plan to relocate up into Moscow. And we anticipate we'll receive confirmation from the board directly in the next month. Okay.
And while I'm on offices, would the U of I parking services, which takes up a fourth of a building, if I'm approximately,
if not a little more.
If not a little more, would they be leasing space from the city of Moscow?
The ownership and operational model is something that we will be bringing forward to the council for discussion. Actually, we anticipate bringing that to committee at the next committee meetings. We have discussed various different options between city ownership and operations of the facility or university ownership and operations of the facility with the city leasing back. There are some, because of it being on the university-owned property, because of it being a property and grounds and parking lot that they maintain in close proximity to other city with other university facilities they maintain. The current discussion has been that the university would potentially own the facility and that the city and the university would jointly maintain and operate that. The city would have a lease for the transit functions, both office space, shared spaces, surrounding premise space for the functional life of the facility. There would be a 40 to 50-year term. And we'd have that spelled out in a legal agreement. And then we'd both jointly share into the operation and maintenance of the facility on a pro rata share basis.
And finally, for the moment, in your conceptual designs, the tall structure that kept appearing in various iterations, is that the covered bus parking, or what?
That's a little architectural detail to terminate the end of the passenger canopy there. If you can think about how the Sweet Avenue parking lot has that center.
Show me a site plan and show me where the tall structure is, please. Okay.
So are you looking at these architectural details?
Those.
Yes.
The tall structure is located at what part of the site plan?
That's the corner.
It'd be right on the corner.
Right in the corner.
So southeast corner?
It would be not exactly placed as it is on the site plan, but the intention was there's an existing center walkway that runs the length of the parking lot and it comes out to the corner of Sweet and Railroad. That would be an aesthetic architectural feature that would straddle that central walkway and serve as kind of a gateway as well as a potential public art opportunity right there on the visible corner element. And it would provide a way to terminate that long platform canopy cover without it just hanging out in space. It would provide a way to terminate that feature.
All right, thank you.
Other questions for our presenters? Tom?
I guess there are a few questions that I have. One, it was mentioned that there might be like a coffee counter or something in the lobby area, and I've at previous meetings I've expressed an interest in having the transit center be located reasonably close to commercial activity so that a person could get a sandwich or breakfast bagel or coffee or whatever they're drinking or eating that would make sense while they're waiting for the next vehicle to pick them up or drop them off or whatever it is. Because my experience with transit centers is that's a great time to try to figure out how to eat something. And I hope the answer here is not going to be the coin insert machine where people can get a bag of potato chips or whatever it is. I'm getting more concerned because it's at a corner where it's pretty far away from Moscow commercial areas. And it's not going to be convenient for somebody to walk more than a block away, probably, to get something. So I'm worried about that, just in general. So I don't know if there's really an answer yet.
That element has not been fully defined, but I think what has been discussed as a concept would be an espresso stand or espresso card, but something that doesn't involve pushing change through a slot, but that would
it might be a
more
muffin in a bag or something.
Might be something.
It's half a step up from the coin slot thing.
It certainly has to be a viable economic
Broccoli on a
operation in the
stick.
facility, and so that will need to be assessed in more detail as we progress.
Okay. I pride food choices as much as I pride vehicle choices, so I hope that we can really make sure that we get that nailed down. So then another question I have is with respect to the comment about LEED gold standard that we're striving for with this, and I'm interested in not just the materials that we use and the structure and so forth, but how much energy and water the building consumes over time. Mm-hmm. So I'm interested, even if we can't afford to include, say, power generation like solar panels on the roof or rainwater collection or something now, I would like to see it designed so that they can be added later fairly conveniently, so that it's so that if we can strive for a zero energy balance with the building or zero water consumption with the building, it would be nice to try to make that as easy as possible. Maybe it can be included now with I don't know what the costs are going to be of that kind of a thing, but
Right.
I'd like to see that addressed somehow. And I don't know if that's final design or now design, but I think it'd be better to talk about it now than later.
It'll certainly be an element that would be evaluated during final design. On the concept stage, we can certainly take a look at it. As we get into more detailed design, that's when those elements will need to be addressed. And certainly, if Ned has anything else he'd like to add, he's certainly welcome to.
I think those are worthy goals, and we will look at that as we develop the design. In our preliminary looking at this, I have to say that this building does better on the sustainability scale as measured by LEED than most any other buildings that we've looked at. By its very nature, it's a positive building towards the environment. And I would agree wholeheartedly that energy and water use have got to be two of the key elements that we look at as we do this building. At present, solar energy is not necessarily a wise investment on this building. It doesn't pay back. As far as designing it so that it can be accommodated in the future, that's a no-brainer. That's what we should be doing from the outset, and I agree.
And then maybe this is my last comment for now. The covered bike parking, if it's on the north side of the building, that means it's going to have an exposed west wall, I think, from the design that I see here. If that's the case, we probably want to have some kind of clear western, or like a panel that would block the wind, because that will be an issue. Something like the bus stops that we have in town, if there can be a clear panel like that, that would really make those spaces more useful.
Currently, I agree. I mean, the prevailing wind is an issue with this site. By urban design, by the fact of where this site is located, I would really like it not to have a west-facing bus canopy. But it's by the fact, the way that Moscow has unfolded, and at the point we are in history, this
Right.
is the place that makes the most sense,
Right.
even though that's not a benefit. For bike parking, I would anticipate we'd have a combination of bike lockers and bike hoops. And then also one of the things that I'm excited about is investigating the potential of actually having changing room, having a changing and showering room in the building. May not be quite as successful as in some other buildings. At U of I, you can bike all the way into the core campus and use the showers in Memorial Gym. But it's still something I think is the right thing to do for this, and it's helped support that whole bicycle mentality of you can bike, you can ride your bike to this location, stuff your bike in a locker, take a shower, hop on a bus, and go to a class at Wazoo, all in a very convenient, less than 8,000 square foot footprint. And so I think that's definitely an important thing for us to look at.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, bike lockers will be pretty helpful, I think.
So what I was thinking, University of Idaho had set LEED Silver as a minimum construction standard for new construction and significant remodels. I don't know if they've retained that or not, but
Their policy is to design to LEED. They haven't certified any buildings yet, but they've been, it has been articulated as they design to that standard. And they've also expressed a desire to move that up to the gold level, which is why we have adopted that as the target for this individual project.
Sure. Okay. Well, I know they've had some discussion about with excavation, geothermal is a prospect too. I mean, solar may not be feasible, and I know retrofitting for geothermal is very expensive, but if you have to dig a giant hole anyway, maybe it makes more sense. Also, Tom was talking about some of the sustainability aspects of this, not just in the context of LEED Gold, but some of the same people on the University of Idaho campus who've been involved with sustainable design and the building standards have also been involved in sustainable food systems. And so his comments about having a place to eat and sort of representing the gastronomic vernacular, if you will, is a possibility. And you might generate some really creative ideas from some of the folks at the Student Sustainability Center or in the sustainability program. So Jeannie Matheson or Darren Saul, I think, could get the student groups ramped up, and it's something like, wow, why didn't we think of that? So I like the idea of food too. Let's see, who had their hand up over here next?
Oh, I don't have
Sue?
any questions. I just wanted to mention to Tom that he and I were sort of on the same wavelength, because when I looked at the traditional design, I looked at all those south-facing angles and thinking how easy it would be to put solar panels on later if they're put at the right pitch, the right angle now. And, yeah. You go for broccoli on a stick, Tom?
Yeah,
Only with deep fried.
yeah.
Yeah.
Deep fried with chili sauce.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay. Thank you all for the presentations. And now, did you want to poll the council about their favorite designs? Is that you wanted to know that?
I want to meet George
This is
Jetson.
this is
I like
informal.
George Jetson.
Does anybody need to see him again? Walter,
George
do you have a
Jetson looks
favorite
like
up
a
there?
stack of blank DVDs you bought.
Okay, we'll
One
roll
through
through
four?
again.
Okay.
Option 1.
It's like your optometrist.
You want
One,
to take a vote as you go through? We'll run through them quick and go back and vote. Option 2 is a round version. Option 3 is the barrel roof or rounded roof structure. And option 4 is the wedge.
Okay. Walter, what's your preference?
And I liked one, but with the, whatever you did for your architectural feature on any of the designs, to cant it so it's facing south for both shade and solar.
I like 3.
Yep.
I like 1.
I'm partial to 3 also, a lot. Yeah. Tom?
Oh, I like Jetsons. I
Like
think
what?
I could go for
Put a dome on George Jetson, it can be St. Peter's.
yeah. That one, the thing on the Jetsons looks to me like the front of the Commons.
It's like a tugboat.
But I guess I like the third or the fourth ones. Yeah, I like those two.
It's like Capitol Records in
Yeah.
Tim, what about you?
1 4, 1 first, 4 second.
Okay. Stephanie?
We're going to go around the room.
She doesn't get called on
See him
very
again?
much.
No? No opinions? she's a cougar. Okay. Randy, how about you? 4. Okay, Les? 4. 3. Jen, okay, 3. Okay, there you
Nobody
go.
likes two.
So 3 and
Yeah.
4, I think, sound like
No,
they were
3,
the-
it sounded like 3 and 1, didn't it?
and one.
Okay, yeah. I think 3 is prevailing,
One's got a
though.
value.
Yeah.
That kind of looks
Well, it
like a
just
life
looks-
science building.
It just looks like, it
Yeah,
looks
that's
more
what-
like
that's
it
what
fits in with the
struck me.
universities.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Thank you all. This was a lot of fun catching up on this. We've
Three's
already
not-
started bragging about it.
The
So
swoop's not
there we
bad
go.
either,
Okay.